with Lockheed Martin will provide Canada with value for money, flexibility, protection against risks.
The federal government has begun negotiations to purchase F-35 fighter jets for the Canadian military.
Canada has reached an agreement to acquire a fleet of 88 new F-35 fighter jets.
Guess what just happened in Canada? Behind closed doors in Ottawa, officials are quietly reconsidering one of the biggest military deals in the country's history. The plan was simple on paper. Purchase 88 advanced fighter jets worth nearly 30 billion Canadian dollars. The aircraft chosen was the Lockheed Martin F-35 Lightning II, built by American defense giant Lockheed Martin. For years, the decision looked final. Many NATO allies had already committed to the F-35, and Canada seemed ready to follow the same path. But now, something unexpected is happening. Ottawa is quietly rethinking the deal, and the reason goes far beyond money. This story isn't just about fighter jets. It's about sovereignty, technology, and whether Canada truly controls the aircraft defending its own skies. For more than half a century, Canada's air defense has relied on the McDonnell Douglas CF-18 Hornet. These jets entered service in the early 1980s and became the backbone of the Royal Canadian Air Force. They patrolled the vast Canadian Arctic, supported NATO missions overseas, and worked closely with the United States through North American Aerospace Defense Command, the joint command responsible for defending North American airspace. But by 2017, the situation was becoming difficult to ignore. The CF-18 fleet was aging fast. Maintenance costs were rising, spare parts were harder to find, and the aircraft were no longer keeping up with modern fighter technology. Canada needed a replacement. So the government launched an enormous procurement program called the Future Fighter Capability Project. The goal was to purchase 88 next-generation fighter jets capable of defending Canada's airspace for decades to come. Several powerful aircraft entered the competition. Among them were the American F-35, Sweden's Saab JAS-39 Gripen E, the Boeing FA-18E F Super Hornet, and the Eurofighter Typhoon. After years of analysis, testing, and evaluation, Canada finally made its decision in March 2022. The winner was the F-35. At first, the announcement looked like the end of the story, but the real controversy was just beginning. When the contract was first discussed, the expected cost was about 19 billion Canadian dollars. It was already one of the largest defense purchases in the country's history. Then the numbers changed. Within just 2 years, updated estimates pushed the price to $27.7 billion. That's a 46% increase. And that figure only covers the purchase itself. Operating these jets over their lifetime could cost tens of billions more. Reports suggest the F-35 can cost between $35,000 and $47,000 for every hour it flies. Meanwhile, reports from countries operating the Gripen suggest the Swedish jet costs closer to $8,000 per flight hour. That difference may not seem huge at first glance, but over decades of operations, it could translate into billions in additional costs. Still, the rising price tag wasn't what sparked the biggest debate in Canada. The real controversy is something far more complicated. Control. Modern fighter jets are no longer just machines. They're essentially flying computers packed with sensors, radar systems, electronic warfare technology, and advanced software. The F-35 is one of the most sophisticated aircraft ever built, but much of its architecture is deeply integrated into a global program structure connected to the United States. Supporters argue this ensures strong coordination between allies. Critics say it creates dependence, because many aspects of the system, upgrades, modifications, and certain integrations, are managed within that centralized framework. And that's where the Swedish alternative looks very different. The Gripen E, developed by Saab AB, was designed with something called open architecture software. In simple terms, this allows countries operating the aircraft to modify systems, integrate weapons, and upgrade technology more independently. Instead of relying heavily on centralized approvals, the operator has more direct control over the aircraft's systems. For some countries, that flexibility can be extremely valuable. And for Canada, the importance becomes even clearer when you look at the environment its jets must operate in. Canada isn't just another NATO country. It's the second largest country on Earth, and much of its territory stretches deep into the Arctic. Operating aircraft there is incredibly challenging. Temperatures can drop below minus 40 degrees Celsius. Airbases can be isolated for hundreds of kilometers. Runways may be covered in snow and ice. Aircraft operating in these conditions must be extremely reliable and easy to maintain. The Gripen E was designed with this type of environment in mind. Sweden developed the aircraft around the concept of dispersed operations, allowing it to operate from short runways, remote bases, and even specially prepared highways. Maintenance crews can service the jet quickly with relatively simple equipment. The F-35, on the other hand, relies on more specialized infrastructure. Its stealth coating requires careful maintenance, and its advanced systems depend on a complex global supply chain. That doesn't mean the F-35 can't operate in harsh environments, but it does mean the logistical requirements may be higher. And in the Arctic, logistics can be everything. But geography isn't the only factor shaping this debate. The economic stakes are just as high. When countries buy fighter jets, they're not just purchasing aircraft. They're also investing in their national industries. During the competition, Saab made a bold proposal. If Canada chose the Gripen E, the company suggested building major aerospace facilities inside Canada. Plans reportedly included engineering centers, sensor development hubs, and final assembly lines. Some estimates suggested the project could create thousands of high-tech jobs across the country. Even more importantly, the deal could involve significant technology transfer, giving Canadian engineers deeper access to the systems behind the aircraft. The F-35 program works differently. Instead of building aircraft domestically for each buyer, it operates through a global production network. Canadian companies already participate in this supply chain, producing components used in F-35 jets around the world. These contracts have generated billions of dollars in work for Canadian firms. But critics argue that the most sensitive technologies remain, concentrated within the program's central structure. And once politics entered the conversation, the debate became even more complicated. Canada and the United States share one of the closest military partnerships in the world through NORAD. Because of that relationship, interoperability between Canadian and American forces is extremely important. Operating the same fighter aircraft can make coordination easier during joint operations. This is one reason many defense analysts believe the F-35 fits naturally into Canada's alliance strategy. But military procurement decisions are rarely just technical. They are also diplomatic. When billions of dollars in major alliances are involved, defense contracts can influence international relationships and strategic partnerships. That's why the fighter jet debate has become so sensitive. Because Canada now faces two very different paths. One path emphasizes integration with powerful allies. The other emphasizes greater technological independence. And recently, some analysts have suggested a surprising compromise. Canada could operate both aircraft. A smaller number of F-35 jets for Allied missions, and another platform for domestic patrol and Arctic defense. The Gripen E could potentially fill that role. Because the real question facing Canada isn't simply which aircraft is better. The real question is this: when security alliances and technological independence pull in opposite directions, which one should a nation choose?